And we're live. Hi, everybody.
Hi, welcome to Mountain West Facebook Live. Today we're going to be covering frequently asked questions. This will be part one. We're going to cover basically self-directed IRA basics today. My name is Diana Hoff. I'm the Business and Marketing Coordinator with Mountain West IRA. I do a lot of the seminars and training. If you ever have any questions, you give us a call. Bianca and I would be happy to help you. And speaking of Bianca, this is Bianca.
Hello, I'm Bianca Kruger, your local IRA specialist. I know I might look a little different now, but I'm still your regular old IRA specialist here to give you all the education, all of your questions answered, anything that you may need. A client asked me the other day, what do I do at Mountain West? And I am one of your first points of contact. Any single time that you need to contact Mountain West IRA, I am your first go-to person, and then I can always direct you to the correct individual within our departments. So without further ado, let's jump in. I just want to repeat what we're going over. So as you guys know, in our previous Facebook Lives, we had a series called Follow the Money. We are now doing a new series of frequently asked questions, and this is part one of self-directed IRA basics, or the little acronym down there, SDIRA Basics.
Right. So we're going to have, we've been getting so many questions, and a lot of times a lot of you want to know about the same thing. So today we're going to cover just the basics of self-direction. In future, we'll discuss how exactly to invest in real estate based on your type of transaction, how to do precious metals inside of your IRA. We'll get very specific because we've had a lot of questions lately, and we want to make sure to just get that. We can do one-on-one forever, but sometimes people ask a question that's just such a good question, we hang on to that. And we want to give it to all of you so that you all have this information, because we're all about education. So Bianca, first of all, we've got to do the legal bit. Can you go ahead and go over the disclaimer?
Yes. So the disclaimer, you just want to keep in mind that anytime that we're giving free education is that we are not giving any type of legal, tax, business, accounting advice. If you feel the need to get those appropriate licensed professionals, we're letting you know that you need to go and contact those for your specifics and what you need to do. Here at Mountain West IRA, we're more than happy to give you ideas, give you options, give you education, but at the end of the day, it is your choice as well as your due diligence to be able to do what you are wanting to do with your self-directed IRA. I just wanted to peep that due diligence. If you haven't watched our due diligence live, be sure to go and do that. I feel like that is one of the most important Facebook Lives that we have done that sometimes gets brushed over. Doing your due diligence is so important.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, we wanted to do a little role play on, basically, I'm going to be the client asking questions, and Diana is going to be our representative, Mountain West, answering all the questions that you guys have on a regular basis. So I know this sounds crazy, but what is a self-directed IRA?
I'm sorry, I get this question so much. This is not a silly question, because sometimes even if you're working with an investment advisor, a lot of them know stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs. They have what they do and they're good at it. But if it's outside their wheelhouse, they don't think about it. They don't want to know about it. Sometimes they can get really angry. It's like, don't bring that into it. We got this. But basically, a self-directed IRA is an individual retirement account that gives you complete control over your investment choices. Unlike other IRAs, like with the big boys, you're not limited to stocks, bonds, or mutual funds. This means that you can take advantage of investing in alternative assets, real estate, LLCs, mortgage notes, promissory notes, precious metals. Oh my gosh, just tons of other alternative assets. And truthfully, if you want to look at some of those alternative assets, go check our YouTube channel. We have lots of individual ones talking about all those different alternative assets that you can invest in.
So this is a great segue to question number 2. Keep in mind, we're doing the top 10 frequently asked questions for basics. This is number 2. My investment advisor told me that I can only invest with my IRA in stocks, bonds, CDs, or mutual funds. Is this legal?
Yes, I get that one all the time. I actually had a CPA. One of our clients got a new CPA who said, "You're doing what? You can't do that. It's illegal." And they called me all, "My CPA says this is against the law." It's like, oh my gosh. This is a really common misconception, that the only investments that you can do inside a retirement account are stocks, bonds, CDs, mutual funds. But okay, let's be real for a minute. In reality, more investment options have been available since 1975, when IRAs were introduced as part of the Employee Retirement Income Security Act. Hey, ERISA, or ERISA Act of 1974. With the passage of the Small Business Jobs Protection Act in 96, Congress even allowed for certain precious metals to be held under an IRA. So you've always been able to do this. It's just the knowledge wasn't out there. And you know what? That's what we're doing. We want the knowledge to get out there that you have the capability of taking over your retirement account and investing in what you know. Everybody knows in November, the stock market is going to get interesting. It really doesn't matter who's going to be elected. We're due for some evening out and a reality check. Now, does that mean it's going to go up? Does that mean it's going to go down? It's the stock market. Nobody knows.
Right.
Although
that's what I love about our alternative assets, is that you have a lot more control and you're a lot more involved with the way that your assets are working, with the way that you can monitor and control your investments, is being able to have that tangibility almost.
Yes, exactly. The knowledge that you can have an asset in your account that is real. If you're invested in the stock market, like a coffee stock or something, and that company goes belly up, well, guess what? That's gone. But if you're investing in property, you still have that property. Yes, the value is going to go up and the value is going to go down. But at the end of the day, we all know how real estate works. It may have little cycles, but eventually it's going to be higher. What you paid for in 88 was more expensive in 90. What you paid for in 2000 was more expensive in 2010, even with the giant little gulf that we had in the 2006, 7, 8, and 11 heaven area. You know, eventually it always goes back up and it doesn't disappear.
Right.
So,
and this is great. Another segue into question number 3, guys. What are the benefits of having a self-directed IRA?
oh my gosh. Besides,
we can just list a few, because I know we could, me and you could go.
I could go on forever. You know me, I'm a talker. So basically, the benefits to a self-directed IRA include the tax deferment of earnings and investments purchased by contributions to the accounts. Additional benefits include potential tax deduction for contributions and potential tax-free distribution of earnings, depending on your type of IRA. To receive the proper tax benefits, the account must be governed by a trust document that contains the rules stated under the IRS. That's the 5403, but we don't need to go into that right now because that's deep diving. Investments also have to be held by an approved institution for the IRA investor to avoid taxation, and that's like Mountain West IRA.
And so that's linking into question number 4, which is, why do I need an administrator like Mountain West IRA?
Oh, well, that's basic. The the IRS doesn't care who is doing the record keeping, who your trustee is for your account. As long as it's not you. You can't hold the funds. You have to have someone overseeing it. The Internal Revenue Service requires a custodian to hold the IRA assets, and the custodian is required to report transactions to the account, on the account. Due to some of the nuances with self-directed accounts, a majority of custodians don't accept those types of accounts. If you go with one of the large brokerage firms, really popular ones, Edward Jones, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, we all have them at some point in our lives, especially if you've had a 401k. They don't accept these types of assets. They don't want to do that kind of work. They want you to put in a trade or say, I want medium risk or low risk or high risk.
And then who knows what that even means?
I know. They just want it all to be automatic over there so that they can just do what they do. They don't want to be hands-on. They don't want to know you personally.
Just
they
a number on a spreadsheet.
Make the money work. Right, exactly. So Mount West IRA does perform the record keeping as a nominee of our custodian Mainstar Trust. We handle the requirements in an effective and efficient manner, and we basically keep your account so that the IRS isn't going to get excited. And at the end of the day, that's what we all want. We don't want the IRS excited. So ask us if there's an investment you want to do. We'll let you know if that's a prohibited transaction or if it's something that they specifically say you can't do that. But if it's not, we'll tell you how to do it properly, what we're going to need, and then we will help you maintain that asset so that those funds keep growing and you keep growing your wealth for retirement. So
exactly. And just to mention, at the end of the day, you can choose any type of self-directed IRA company. Something that sets us apart from other self-directed IRA companies is, one, we treat you like family friends. We care about you. We know who you are. We keep notes on your account about every single thing that we talk about. And second, and this is my biggest one, 2-day turnaround time. Anything you want, 2 business days, and it's done. I know at least on our department, we even like to beat the deadline all the time. I know that's something that people really care about, service and processing time. I think those are our 2 biggest sellers on giving great service.
absolutely.
So now going, and we've touched on this a little bit, but we're going to go over this again. Question number 5, what types of investments are allowed in my self-directed IRA?
Oh boy, there's a lot. The IRS says what you can't do, but they don't exactly say what you can do. They just give you guidelines to follow. As long as you don't do this that's prohibited, and as long as you don't try to invest in these, all of this is available. So you can do real estate, commercial, residential, buy and hold, fix and flip, all of that. You can do precious metals. And I'm not talking about investing in stocks that are precious metals. I'm talking about the actual gold, the actual silver, platinum, palladium.
And not to negate that, but you can do both. I know that I talked to a client recently that was doing a private placement deal, and they were investing in a company, and I assumed that it was precious metals, but nope, it was the private stock of those precious metals. So there's so many different opportunities. The sky's really the limit.
Absolutely. And you touched on it. LLCs or limited liability companies. You can invest in those. You can do limited partnerships, private placements. What am I forgetting? You can do joint ventures. Oh my gosh, there's so much more. Cows. If you want to know about the cows, go check out the alternative asset one, and we'll tell you how to invest in cows. It's kind of fun.
Right? If you guys don't know what a capital gain is, put it in and ask us what that means. It's a little inside joke / great key coined term that our CEO, John Gillane, has coined. So if you guys don't know what that means, let us know in the comments.
And great part.
It is. Okay, so now number 6. What investments or assets are not allowed in a self-directed IRA?
Right. Well, there's 3 basic types of investments that are absolutely not permitted in a self-directed IRA or truly an IRA of any kind. Life insurance contracts, you can't invest in a life insurance contract. Collectibles, basically, if it's a collectible, you can't do it. However, for some coins and metals, they can kind of be considered both precious metals and a collectible, but because they fall within the accepted precious metals, those are allowed. So no insurance contracts, no collectibles, and you can't invest in S corps. So
liquor.
yeah. Oh yeah, liquor.
But there's a caveat to that. So yes, you can't invest into like a bottle of alcohol or a bottle of wine, but you can certainly invest in a company that produces it or sells it.
Absolutely.
Which I thought that was a great little caveat to be able to get exactly what you want. And that's great questions to ask us. If you are unsure or you automatically even think it's a no, ask us anyways. We're more than happy to help you. We're more than happy to spring some ideas of what
Absolutely.
you can do inside of your retirement account.
Yep, I was speaking to someone new this morning who just called in, and they had an idea of what they wanted to do, and unfortunately, it was a prohibited transaction. It would have been self-dealing along with dealing with a prohibited person. However, in the process of our conversation, she says, well, what about this type of investment? I said, oh, yeah, you can do that. And when you do that, you have the capability of doing A, B, and C. And suddenly it all clicked for her. And she says, oh, so if I want to do blank, I can do that. And it's like, yeah, so, have the conversation with us. You may come up with something that is just amazing that you already know how to do. You already have the contacts. You get to invest in what you know. And that's just, it's so exciting when I see what people come up with. I love my job.
Right? It's the best. So number 7, I'm going to kind of edit this question because I always like to refer back to our documents. So I know that sometimes when clients are filling out a form or they're talking to us over the phone, they're like, I don't see self-directed IRA on the application, but I see, what is this? What's the difference between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA?
Right. Okay. I get this question all the time, especially when people are talking about, okay, in the end, when I retire, what does that look like? Well, what it looks like is going to be vastly different depending on the flavor of your IRA. There's tax deferred and there's tax free. So let's talk about tax deferred. A traditional IRA, SEP, simple, stuff like that. A traditional IRA or pre-tax IRA allows individuals to put aside tax deferred money for retirement. And that's tax deferred money for retirement. Contributions can be used as a tax deduction if you're eligible, and that depends on a couple of things. That's a good conversation to have with your CPA. Most of us, your contribution is going to be 100% deductible. If you also have a 401k with a current employer, the numbers and the amount you're allowed to make and still write that off are different, but you can still contribute. The earnings on those contributions grow tax-free, but they'll be taxed upon distribution. Now, when they're taxed at distribution, those are taxed at your current tax bracket. So when I am 72 and I decide, you know what, it's really time for me to retire, and I want to take out $10,000 from my IRA, that's going to show up as income. So that and whatever else I make from my personal investments or investments that are not tax deferred that show up as income, that'll be added. So for instance, if today I took out a distribution from my account for $1,000, yeah, I'm going low, then in April of 2021, when I do my 2020 taxes, that's going to show up as $1,000 of income in addition to whatever else I made. Now, a Roth IRA is different. It's an individual retirement account that is funded with post-tax dollars. So you don't get a tax write-off. There's no deduction. All earnings, including interest, capital gains, dividend income, everything grows tax deferred while it's in there.
I love these accounts so much.
I know. Yearly eligibility requirements are based on income. So whether or not you can contribute depends on how much you earn, but there's always a way around that.
Main word, contribute.
Yes. Check into our Follow the Money on Backdoor Roths, and you'll see that anybody can have a Roth. And the big thing about a Roth is once it's qualified, and that is it has to have been open at least 5 years, and that's from the time you first opened any Roth. You have to have had a Roth for at least 5 years, and you must be over the age of 59 and a half or have a qualifying life event like, well, gee, COVID.
Or buying a home.
First-time home buyer, education expenses. There's a few things that'll make it qualified, but the big one is you have to have had it opened 5 years, and it has to be qualified. And if you're 59 and a half, it is qualified. Then your distributions are tax-free, which means all that money that's been growing tax-deferred and hasn't had taxes paid on it because you made an after-tax contribution or you opened it up with a conversion and paid the taxes on those funds, it grows tax-free. And you can take a distribution of any amount or even an in-kind distribution. You have a house in there that you want to use personally, distribute it. You have gold and silver in there that you would now kind of sort of like to hold personally, distribute it. You have the capability of distributing tax-free with a Roth. So that's basically the difference. Tax-deferred growth for both, and then you pay the taxes at your income level or you get tax-free. So that's the primary difference between a traditional and a Roth.
Excellent. Okay, now going to question number 8. Does Mountain West IRA provide retirement plans for small business owners and employers?
Yes, yes. There are 3 actually. There's a SEP, a simple, and an individual 401k plan. And all of those are for employees who employ the owner of the SEP and the simple, you can have employees. But the individual K, unlike a regular 401k, an individual K, which is also sometimes called a solo K, is for employers who employ only the owners and their spouses and maybe some children. So there's little rules in there for family-owned businesses like farms and things like that. So.
And if you're ever curious on which one of those plans is best for you, we can always give you all the education. You will have to still make that decision, but we can give you all of the information and education on what type of employer-sponsored plan that you would like for yourself. And don't ever be confused by employer-sponsored plan. If you own your own business, you are your employer and employee if you pay yourself. So you just want to keep that in mind. It's a great way to be able to not only max out your personal contribution if you had a traditional or Roth, but also another way that you can contribute funds via your business.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that we went over a little bit of number 8 and 9 at the same time, but what are the big differences between SEP, simple, and individual 401k? What's like the big ticket question that we get asked about that?
Yes. Most people tend to look at SEPs or IKs because you have the capability of putting away so much, but there's a simple in there too. So let's talk about SEPs first, because these are super, super popular, especially with realtors, self-employed people who don't want a really kind of confusing plan where they need to get their CPA in on there and make sure that everything is copacetic. SEPs are a little easier to manage, and you can also have employees, which is a plus. A SEP IRA, SEP, Simplified Employee Pension Plan. It's actually not a SEP IRA, it's a SEP, Simplified Employee Pension Plan. We throw IRA on the end of everything. It's basically a profit sharing type of plan that allows for a contribution up to 25% of each employee's compensation. And I believe in 2020 it was 56,000. Possibly 57. I think it was 56.
It's been going up every year.
It does. It goes up on a regular basis. But we have all the guidelines for 2020, 2019. Normally by now I could just rattle that puppy off forever. But because the 2019 contribution didn't end until July. I kind of still have those two numbers in my head together. But hey, that's what cheat sheets are for.
Right?
A simple IRA is a little different. That is a savings incentive match plan for employees. So simple. It's an employer retirement plan that has similar characteristics to a 401k, in that there's an employee portion and an employer portion. The difference in the plan is that it's not subject to the additional yearly mandatory compliance tests that typical 401k plans are subject to. Oh, and as well, the maximum contributions are a little lower. So a simple plan, you cannot have more than 100 employees or you're done. You can't participate in a simple plan once you've passed too many employees. So most people,
a little bit more rare on our end.
Most people aren't really going to go for a simple before they hit a SEP, a 401k, or an individual K. And speaking of individual K, an individual K, solo K, IK, it's called a couple different things. But basically, it's designed for employers who only employ owners, maybe a partner, and their spouses. And again, like I said before, sometimes children, it depends on, everything that's going on. So if it's just you and your wife and your kids kind of help out and that's it, you can do an IK. If you're a realtor, you work for yourself, you can do an IK. So that's basically who it's for. And that's the big difference in these is who can put money in, what are the requirements to own it, and what are the contributions. So if you want to know which one's best for you, look on our website, give us a call, explain your circumstance. We'll kind of give you an idea of how each one would work for your circumstance and whether you'd be eligible to open them. At the end of the day, refer to your CPA, refer to who's in charge of your funds and your tax return, because they're going to be a really good resource. But you can always start with us and we can tell you, yes, you have the capability of going for this one if you want it, or no, you don't qualify for that because fill in the blank. So that's
Exactly.
I'm trying to start at a level and not go too in depth because between the SEP and IK, I love those two. And
There's my favorite account.
Have so much capability of protecting their assets and continuing to invest in what they know without, if you have a really good year, you don't want to give it all away in taxes. But if you have a really good year and you can sock away $56,000, or if you have an IK, $63,000,
Over 50.
yeah, you can put away that money and continue to invest in the same things you're doing that helped you make the funds in the first place. But now they're tax deferred and you're not paying taxes on those, and you didn't just
imagine that just being taken off your income for that year. Just instead of having to pay it to the IRS, you get to pay it to yourself in the future.
Pay yourself first.
Right? Always pay yourself first.
Absolutely.
So we're getting close to the end. We have our final question number 10. Are my self-directed IRA investments guaranteed?
Oh, yeah, that's a hard one. Think about it. Think about what these investments are. Mountain West IRA does not provide or endorse specific investments. It's up to you, the client, to do the proper due diligence with the investments that you choose. We don't and we can't guarantee any investment. But having said that, you have the capability of making your plan, having your exit strategy, securing your notes with property or cars or boats. I had one gentleman who did a promissory note and he secured it with the guy's boat. He wanted funds to do something else entirely, but there was no way to secure it with what he was doing. So he says, well, I just got a new boat. And he's like, so you have the ability through doing your due diligence and making sure that you chose a good investment, you chose a piece of property that's going to perform for you. that you have a solid asset behind what you're doing, and you can make it pretty darn secure because you have the capability of investing in what you know. But no, we do not insure your investment. Now, undirected funds are held in an FDIC insured account, but your investment, do your due diligence, because we can't guarantee it. Think about it. If I go to my TD Ameritrade account and say, I want this stock because, hey, that looks like it's going to do good, and then it tanks, which actually happened to me in March, but I'm not discussing that. The company just went,
Right,
it was there 1 minute, and it's like, luckily it was low, and it was just a very small investment.
And I'm sure that's happened to a lot of people this year. Being able to gain the knowledge of that the public stock market is not your only avenue of investing. Yes, it's a great place to start if you don't know what you're doing. But here at Mountain West IRA with self-directed IRAs, it is for the client that is a little bit more knowledge or savvy, knows what they want to do. And if you're not, that's why we're here. We're going to give you all the information. We're just going to wrap this up. Keep in mind, this was only part one of our frequently asked questions series. So be sure to tune in for part 2. We'll let you know when we're going to broadcast that one. Be sure to like, share, and ring that bell so then you can say subscribe for any of our future Facebook Lives. I saw that we got a comment here. We'll be answering that comment later after our live. But if you do have any comments, questions, please be sure to let us know. We're more than happy to help you. If you're a little shy and you don't want to come in here, that's more than fine. You can always call us. Our phone number is right down there in the banner, as well as email us at accounts@mwira.com. You can always go to our website as well. We have so much information to give you. I'm excited that we're getting started into another series.
Absolutely. And Chris, thank you for asking that question. I love that. I believe he's referring to capital gains. Yes.
Yes. We'll answer your comment in just a moment. To everyone watching, thank you again for watching our Facebook Lives. Don't forget, we also have our YouTube channel. Be sure to like and share. You can watch as many times as you want. The information is at your disposal.
And don't forget to join us tomorrow. We'll be talking with Spencer Montgomery. He is actually a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual, and he is very smart people. So we will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day.
Bye.